Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Final Trade. Let's talk about the top 10 2-1 creatures for 1 mana from the pre-modern Magic era. It's pretty easy because there are only 10. But first we'll have a honorable mention, Harambe the Kirdape. Yeah, he's not quite a 2-1, he's kind of a 2-3, but he's 1 mana. I just thought I'd throw him in here because he's kind of an interesting thing to think about in terms of the rest of these creatures. So, number 10, Wild Dogs from Urza's Saga. Now, here's the thing, if you are no longer the person with the highest life, then you lose control of wild dogs. And that makes it pretty bad because, the Magic is one of those kind of games where things kind of snowball. And so if you get behind, you tend to get further behind, and you tend to get further and further behind until you lose. And so it kind of makes it difficult to play this card unless you're hyper aggressive at the beginning and you remain hyper aggressive and you stay in the lead. But in a deck like Senior Stompy, this would definitely be a great card. Number 9, Goblin Cadets, also from Urza's Saga. Now, this one is arguably a little better because as long as you can keep him away from blocking or being blocked, you'll maintain control of him. But, definitely the reason that the number 9 and number 10 slot are where they are is because you can lose control of these creatures. Number 8, the Scared Puma. Now, this is a little better, but it requires you to have a multicolored deck. And that's really why it's here. And the thing is, you put this guy down on the first turn, then on the second turn, you're not going to probably have another creature who is unaffected by summoning sickness who can attack with this guy. And so that really kind of limits his usefulness, especially compared to the other 2 or 3 the other red 2-1 creatures for 1 mana that are in the list. Number 7, the Molting Harpy from Mercadian Mass. Now, this one has flying, which is pretty great, but, you have an upkeep of 2 mana. That's just not that great. Certainly not as good as the next one, the Spindrift Drake from Stronghold. So, flying and only 1 mana upkeep. Who cares that it's 1 colored mana? If you've got the blue to put the Drake out, you've got the blue to pay the upkeep. Number 5, Carrion Rats from Torment. So, this is pretty interesting, and I'm surprised I had never seen this card discussed in anything like, suicide decks, stuff like that. Any type of black aggro deck. At least discussed. Maybe not included, but at least discussed. Because, yeah, your opponent can kind of shut it down by continually removing cards from their graveyard, but they're going to run out of those at some point. And so it would be interesting to see if there were any decks that actually made use of this back when it would have been Type 2 legal in the 1990s. Number 4, Goblin Patrol. Now, I play this card in my slide deck. I think it's really good, and, compared with the other ones who have an upkeep, this Echo ability is like a 1 mana upkeep that you only pay for 1 turn. So that's why it's definitely lower on the list than those previous 2 with upkeep. And really, this is, like I said, this is one I actually play, and he goes along well in slide decks with his friend number 3, the Jackal Pup. Really one of the iconic cards of the Tempest block of Type 2 decks of the time, and just an amazing card. Don't be fooled by that damage that you take from the pup. If he takes damage, yeah, you might take a few, but the point is you're putting out a 2-1 creature for 1 mana on the first turn. That's really where it's at. Number 2 on the list, Savannah Lion. Okay, if your opponent has some blue mana, you can be prevented from dealing damage with him. But look, that's like a 1 mana sink on your opponent every turn, and it only counts if your opponent's got blue mana. If he doesn't, then this creature is every bit as good as number 1, the classic daddy of them all, Savannah Lion. No drawbacks, no complications, just a 2-1 creature for 1 mana. When Magic was first released, the designers really saw white as the color of large armies, of like human armies and armies of small creatures and things like that. And that's why white got the Savannah Lion. That's why when the game was released, it was only in white's hands. And so, it wasn't until later in Mirage that you saw another one, and he had a big drawback on him. And so Savannah Lion was printed in Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, Revised, and 4th edition. during the pre-modern era. It was reprinted more outside of the pre-modern era. So those are the top 10, and in fact only 10 2/1 creatures for 1 mana from pre-modern Magic. So if you like this kind of thing, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Join me on Final Trade. Thanks a lot.